Now the biogeochemical cycles are of two types of cycles now, gaseous cycles and sedimentary cycles. Carbon nitrogen cycles are considered as gaseous cycles because the source of energy is in the form of gaseous compounds Sedimentary cycles, the source is in the form of sediments maybe in the form of rocks, oceanic rocks or oceanic bed, so on and so forth. So phosphorus and sulfur are sedimentary cycles, whereas gaseous cycles are carbon and nitrogen Now these biogeochemical cycles have two kinds of cycling pools They are reserve pool and exchange pool. Reserve pool, if the particular substance it gets stored in a form for a long period of time okay, it is called reserve pool. For instance, nitrogen, the reserve pool can be atmosphere. About 79% of nitrogen is present in the atmosphere, so it is a reserve pool for this. And mostly abiotic factors act as reserve pool for the organisms Exchange pool is the place from where there is a continuous loss of that particular product takes place that is called exchange pool. Biotic factors act as exchange pool for the organisms, and abiotic factors act as reserve pool for the organisms. The same way carbon you take the earth crust or the rocks present in the earth crust okay, then the oceanic sedimentary rock they can be considered as reserve pool because carbon is mostly deposited in the form of graphite, in the form of different allotropic forms at the bottom of the soil, at the bottom of even oceans and seas. So that is a reserve pool for the carbon, and exchange pool the atmospheric carbon can be considered as exchange pool So if a particular product or particular compound gets stored for a long period in a particular biota, it is called reserve pool, and if there is a continuous loss of the product it can be called the exchange pool Now we start with regard to the carbon cycle. Okay, then carbon cycle so it is about 71% is in the water 49% of the dry weight of the organism is due to presence of the carbon. About 29% of carbon is in the atmosphere. 71% is in the water in the form of H2CO3. Now here carbon exists in the form of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now it is utilized by the producers for their photosynthetic activity, and producers okay, they are converted over a period of time, they get converted into the fossil fuels during geographical upheavals. Now the producers are eaten away by the consumers okay. When producers and consumers are dead, they are acted upon by microbes Then microbes, they act upon the dead organic matter of producers and consumers through decomposition process. Once again, carbon dioxide is released into atmosphere, that is carbon is released into atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide. And producers and animals that is consumers, even during respiration also carbon dioxide is released into atmosphere. And sometimes the carbon dioxide gets deposited in the form of carbonate rocks in the soil and water. Carbonate rocks through hot sulfur springs they may release once again carbon into the atmosphere. And the producers they get converted into wood and litter. Okay, wood and litter through burning process also may release carbon dioxide into atmosphere like that there is a continuous exchange of carbon from one sphere to another sphere, from one trophic level to another trophic level So for this carbon, the reserve pool is the soil that is the graphite, then shells, okay, then different kinds of sedimentary depositions are the reserve pool for that of the carbon. Then the exchange pool, maybe water can be considered as exchange pool, or atmosphere is also considered as an exchange pool for the carbon Under biogeochemical cycles, now we will talk about the nitrogen cycle Nitrogen is the most important constituent in both plants and animals. It is an important constituent of proteins, certain hormones, certain enzymes, all amino acids. All amino acids also contain nitrogen, and it is present even in the protoplasm. It is one of the constituents of even nucleic acids. Now under biogeochemical cycles, we'll talk about the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is an important constituent of both plants and animals. It is one of the ingredients of proteins and some of the hormones and some of the enzymes. And all amino acids are made up of nitrogen here now. It is present as one of the constituents in protoplasm and even nucleic acids. Then nitrogen acts as a limiting factor for plants. Because plants compete with the microbes for the utilization of nitrogen in the soil. However, plants do not have the ability to make use of nitrogen directly, so they depend on microbes for the utilization of nitrogen. Then nitrogen fixation, that is, nitrogen is made available to the plants through a process called nitrogen fixation. This nitrogen fixation is done by number one, biological method, biological N2 fixation. This biological N2 fixation is done by, for instance, rhizobium bacteria. Rhizobium bacteria helps in nitrogen fixation in leguminaceae plants. Then Azotobacter helps in nitrogen fixation in the soil. Then Xanthomonas helps in nitrogen fixation in Ardisia. Then Frankia helps in nitrogen fixation in Casuarina, Ulnus and Rubus. So Xanthomonas helps in nitrogen fixation in Ardisia. Frankia helps in nitrogen fixation in Casuarina, Ulnus and Rubus. Then Azolla helps in nitrogen fixation in nostoc and Anabina. Okay, so this is the process of biological fixation here now. Biological fixation of nitrogen is brought about by rhizobium bacteria in legumes, Azotobacter in soil, Xanthomonas in Ardisia. Frankia helps in nitrogen fixation in Casuarina, Ulnus and Rubus, and Azolla helps in nitrogen fixation in nostoc and Anabina. Apart from biological fixation, nitrogen fixation is also brought about by industrial method. Industrial fixation you call it, where it helps through the manufacturing of different kinds of nitrogen fertilizers or ammonium fertilizers. That is industrial fixation. Then apart from it is also brought about by lightning discharge. Any simple lightning discharge also helps in oxidation of atmospheric nitrogen into different forms of nitrates like nitrites or nitrogen dioxide, so on and so forth. So once it is converted into usable form, that usable form of nitrogen is utilized by plants now. And from plants now, it goes into the animals in the form of food. When plants and animals are dead, the biomass of plants and animals is acted upon by ammonifying bacteria like bacteria and fungi. They break down the organic matter of the dead animals and plants into ammonia. The process of breakdown of the organic matter or biomass of dead plants and animals into ammonia is called ammonification, which is brought about by putrefying bacteria and fungi, sometimes even actinomycetales. Then ammonia is converted into nitrites by nitrifying bacteria, like there is a nitrifying bacteria called Nitrosomonas, helps in converting ammonia into nitrites. Nitrites are converted into nitrates by another nitrifying bacteria called Nitrobacter. Then nitrates are utilized by now the plants, or sometimes nitrates are converted into nitrogen by denitrifying bacteria like Pseudomonas and Aeromonas. Now I shall give you the flow chart here now, which depicts the nitrogen utilization in the atmosphere. And the reservoir pool for the nitrogen is atmosphere, where about 78% of nitrogen is present. Then in the soil, it is always a limiting factor because small amount of nitrogen is present in the soil here now. So this is the nitrogen cycle here now. The organic form of nitrogen present in plants, animals and microbes, maybe in the protoplasm or in proteins or in the form of nucleic acids, so on and so forth here now. Now when the animals, plants and microbes are dead, they are converted into biomass. The biomass of animals, plants and microbes is subjected to ammonification process in the presence of putrefying bacteria and fungi to form ammonia. The process of breakdown of biomass into ammonia is called ammonification. Now the ammonia is converted into nitrites by nitrifying bacteria. The nitrifying bacteria like Nitrosomonas breaks down ammonia into nitrites. Nitrites are converted into nitrates by another nitrifying bacteria called Nitrobacter. Now the nitrates are utilized by the plants, utilization by plants, animals and microbes. Now sometimes the nitrites and nitrates are converted into nitrogen gas through a process called denitrification. Denitrification is brought about by Pseudomonas, Clostridium. Denitrification is brought about by bacteria like Pseudomonas and Clostridium. Now nitrogen present in the atmosphere is subjected to nitrogen fixation, as I made a mention earlier, through industrial fixation, biological fixation, lightning or electric fixation here now. Now the nitrites and nitrates can be utilized by the plants, like there is the utilization of nitrogen in the atmosphere. Then reserve pool for the nitrogen, reservoir pool for the nitrogen is atmosphere. Exchange pool for the nitrogen is various biotic factors. The biotic factors like plants, animals and microbes act as exchange pool. The reservoir pool of nitrogen is atmosphere. So the most important constituent of nitrogen is plants, animals and microbes here. So remember the important points EAMCET and other exam point of view: nitrifying bacteria, Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter; denitrifying bacteria, Pseudomonas and Clostridium; then ammoniifying bacteria are bacteria, fungi and actinomycetales. Now phosphorus cycle here now. The phosphorus is also one of the important constituents of plants, animals. Phosphorus is present in the form of nucleic acids, and it is also present in the protoplasm. Certain cofactors and coenzymes also contain phosphorus, and ATP, ADP also contain phosphorus, where it happens to be one of the most important ingredients. At the same time, it is present even in the bones, that is skeleton, as the major constituent in the human body here now. Now in the nature here now, the phosphorus is present in the sediments of oceans and seas. Sediments of oceans and seas is present, and it is present even in the form of rock minerals, rock minerals. The phosphorus present in the form of sediments and rock minerals is mostly in the form of orthophosphate. Rock minerals and sediments, it is mostly in the form of orthophosphate here now. So the orthophosphates of sediments and rock minerals, for instance, sediments, whenever there is geographical upheaval, the orthophosphate of the sediments is brought to the earth's surface, and the rocks here now that contain orthophosphate here now, because of weathering here now, the phosphate is made usable for the plants and animals here now. Now from the rock minerals and the sediments here now, the phosphorus is utilized by the plants. Now from the plants it goes to the animals here now. Then from the dead mass of, that is dead organic matter or biomass of plants and animals, it goes in the form of, once again, soil, into the soil here now. Now some soil, in the soil it gets deposited in the form of, once again, rock minerals. I shall show you the cycle where there is exchange of phosphorus. Now the reservoir pool for the phosphorus is the sediments like skeletal elements, then depositions, so on and so forth, are the reservoir pool for the phosphorus. The sediments and rock minerals and endoskeleton, the shells, they all act as reservoir pool for the phosphorus. Now this is the flowchart that depicts the phosphorus cycle here now. Now the producers make use of the phosphorus present in the form of soil solution here now through uptake, that is they make use of the phosphorus present in the soil solution. From producers it goes to the consumers here now. When the producers and consumers, they are dead, they get converted into detritus matter, that is the organic detritus matter. So producers in the form of litter fall, it gets converted into detritus matter. Consumers, when they are dead, they are converted into detritus. The detritus matter of consumers and producers gets converted into soil solution through decomposition process. Then the reservoir pool of phosphorus, as made a mention earlier, rock minerals and oceanic sediments. Oceanic sediment through geographical upheavals get converted into soil solution. From rock minerals through weathering process, the soil solution is formed. Now soil solution is in turn consumed by the producers. Sometimes certain amount of soil solution is lost into the oceanic bed in the form of runoff, oceanic or the aquatic bed in the form of runoff. So this is the cycle that depicts the phosphorus cycle here. The flow chart that depicts a phosphorus cycle and utilization of phosphorus by producers and consumers.